Okay, right. Sorry about that, folks. So we've got Brian. So can we ask Achilles? Have you picked up on Brian's point yet? I don't think you have you? You want to say something about the more strategic aspects of this?
Yes, yeah, I did see Eddie's come in there. I don't know if he asked the question as well.
Not yet.
I'm going to be asking Edis to talk next.
Sure. Just going back to Brian's point about a strategic larger area view and so on. When I heard or got notification that Enfield got funding for tranche 2, I immediately got in touch with officers and the cabinet member and said, okay, well, how much and what is it for, and what are the plans for phase 2 in Bowes? The information I've subsequently received is that they're contacting Haringey councillors or Haringey Council, so to see what their proposals are, and they can put see what's being proposed in Haringey so that it works alongside with whatever Enfield might be putting forward. Haringey were about to put forward a timeline for their scheme, but are now, I think, more discussions are now taking place with Enfield, so that there is some joint working. So hopefully, there's work going on by traffic officers in both authorities to put forward schemes that are complementary, that might work together. I don't know yet. Certainly, I have asked that as the schemes are worked up, particularly for the Bowes one, whether we as Bowes councillors can be involved in that. I've not had a response to that, but I have asked that we are involved and consulted on the development of phase 2 for Bowes.
May I quickly jump in here, Sue, and say, just to add to Achilles, that there is now a Haringey officer who is sitting on our traffic decision-making group in relation to these LTNs.
Okay. Could you tell us who that is?
I don't know the name of the officer. I'm sorry, we can find out for you.
Okay, great.
I think that would be very helpful. Good point. Brian, did you want to just come back?
Well, I appreciate the answers, and especially that last input from Achilles. I think it's an important thing to say for all of us, probably most of us here, is that actually we support a great deal about the agenda of street space and active travel plan. Norbert and Tony have spoken particularly about how actually that has to accommodate all needs. I'm a minimal car user who works on environmental issues. Many of us are. These plans, I think, in Haringey, I mean, it's directed towards 2041. One of the things I think is not seeking to jump through too many hoops at once, but to recognize, quite what the first steps should be. But thank you.
Thank you very much, Bron. Edis, over to you. Unmute yourself,
Let me just
mate.
unmute him.
Hi everyone. As you know, I live in Grenoble Gardens on the other side of Green Lanes, on the edge of the Bowes ward. We tend to be the forgotten part of the Bowes ward. Before I go into my question, this evening, as many of you seen, I posted a video today of the distressing scenes on my roads. We had another 30 to 40 car tailback leading up to the school, at which point I had to send my children to my mum's house due to them coughing uncontrollably. This is being picked up by the Ella Roberts Foundation, and they're going to be helping me in protesting about this. I'll come on to my question. In 2017, Enfield Council carried out a consultation regarding the potential effects of the modular filter on Palmerston Road. At the time, the council stated they would not support the measures due to the displacements of traffic onto streets with known traffic issues. For example, Green Lanes, Grenoble Gardens, and other surrounding roads. 900 yards south of here, Wood Green pollution monitor a year ago monitored 90 micrograms per cubic meter on average on certain days, which is twice the legal limit of pollution allowed. This is 18 times a year. Why is there no pollution counters outside the LTNs to record displaced pollution and displaced traffic? And that is to Achilles.
Hi, Eddie. Sorry about that. I do have a problem with Zoom. One of the things that I mean, you referred earlier, I did say one of my concerns is about the level of pollution, and we need to, it needs to be monitored carefully. And I think going forward is how have pollution levels changed? And we spoke about the North Circular Road. I spoke about the North Circular and Bowes Road, but you're quite right. It's not just there. And I think for me, crucially, and again, it's something that I've asked for and several times of officers, is what are your KPIs? What are your key performance indicators that will say whether the scheme is working okay, is not working at all, or is working brilliantly? And officers haven't got those KPIs, and that concerns me, because unless you've got a baseline to measure, such as pollution on these roads as well, and I take your point about why they're not where they should be. So, and I think we can go back to officers and ask for that. But crucially, you need to be able to measure. And you know, in my line of work and in anyone's line of work, unless you measure something, you don't know whether it's successful or not. And you need a baseline to be able to do that. So for me, quite crucially, you need KPIs. And I think it's regrettable that those KPIs, those baseline levels, were not set at the beginning.
Okay, just to clarify one thing. As most of you know, I am a bus controller for a large bus company in this area. And I'm fortunate enough to work with statistics, timetables, etc. Obviously, with lockdown, etc., it does vary. However, I can look at every year for the last few years how long it took a bus from one point to get to another point, and how long it took pre-lockdown. And I can tell you, buses were not reaching their destinations. For example, Route 121 was not reaching Turnpike Lane because they were running half an hour late, and I would have to curtail that bus into Palmer's Green. And this is due to them running for 30 minutes late. Likewise, a 329 going towards Enfield Town, pre-lockdown, would lose up to 25 minutes to cross over the North Circular Roads. Post-lockdown, obviously, it's gone slightly quieter, but my road today, it was backed up literally for 2 hours, meaning that I had to send my children to my mother's because they were coughing uncontrollably. This is being ignored. It cannot carry on. I've posted these videos on social media and it's being ignored. It's going to evaporate. Take it. My children are being sacrificed. Do we need another Ella Roberts to happen? Are we not learning from these? Achilles.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. And I think it's that type of information, that detailed information that you've just read out or have at your fingertips because of the job that you do, of how long it takes public transport, buses to move, that I think is crucial and is fed into the process of deciding what to do next. And that's why I've been asking for, what are the KPIs? What was it previously? What is it now? What are the effects? And unless you've got that, I think it's difficult.
But
thank you, Achilles. I think,
and thanks for your videos. Been watching them.
I think the difficulty is that people have been putting these points for a very long time, and there's just never been a satisfactory response. Isn't that right, Ed? It's because Sorry, Yasmin, did you just want to come in and talk about Edis's point?
Yes, I do actually, because Grenoble Gardens, contrary to, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I hear there's a long time history of the issues on Grenoble Gardens, but to say that we have done nothing, I have to correct you there, Edis, because actually when the school streets was proposed, I went to the 2 schools there because the school streets would mean that traffic would be actually monitored and have to be lessened in the way that you are exactly suggesting for Grenoble Gardens. And you know, the officers offered the money to the schools, but the schools unfortunately refused because they said they didn't have the volunteers to man the crossings with the children. Now, we have gone back to St. Michael at Bowes School, who are re-looking at this. So, you know, there might be some...
Oh, we've just lost Yasmin.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Sorry, there might be some way forward with this. But what I'm also very interested in what you said is that it was known in 2017 that this sort of displacement would happen from Palmerston Road to Green Lanes and the other roads.
Yes.
Now, why wasn't that information fed into everything to do with this particular plan? I want to go back and find out about this because this seems to be a very important point why it was not fed in.
Can I just come in?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can email documents that I've got, and it clearly
states. Please do this, Edis.
But I think, yes, sorry, Edis, just to come in here. I mean, I think, Edis, if you can send that across. But the point is, right, that a lot of us have done an enormous amount of research on LTNs, and I certainly am incredibly well researched. And what I can say is that none of this has been taken into account in your thinking. I have to say this whole move comes across as completely ideological, if not fantasy, actually. I mean, do I see some nods there? Edis, wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm conscious that I cut you off. Did you just want to make a final point, Edis?
Yes. Yasmin stated regarding the safer streets where you close the roads off for a couple of hours, which is great. That would help. However, for instance, today between 4:30 p.m. and 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., our road was chock-a-block up to the school. We could not open our doors. It was not moving. They've made the roads into one ways. They've cut off Palmerston Road. Everything is crammed onto Green Lanes. So what happens then is everyone goes up Walls Lane, then takes the last turning possible, which is Grenoble Gardens, and then it's a right turn onto Green Lanes. And it is continuous. It's continuous for hours. And Mr. Barnes is just... We used to have this once or twice a month if there was an incident on an North Circ. It's not the case now. They cut off Palmerston Road last year to place in the cycle lights. He closed it for 1 month, and for 1 month this happened. And it's happening again every single day. Lessons are not being learnt. My children are getting ill. I don't want any incidents to happen. We don't want another Ella Roberts. We do not want that. And we are being pushed aside, being promised it's going to evaporate. It has not evaporated in Waltham Forest. I control the buses outside the low traffic neighbourhoods. They are running continuously late. It's fiction. It does not happen. I'll leave it there because I'm getting passionate about it. I apologise.
Thank you very much, Edis. Your point is very well made. And Roland, do you want to come in next?
I'd love to. Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you, councillors, for coming on this call. I thought it was important to get you on here so we can talk to you, and this is a recorded and open meeting. Can we just stress something to you? Councillor Barnes has come on to only closed meetings with groups in the area, not to be recorded, not allowed to be aired, and I think that's shocking. Secondly, the lead councillor, Kalaskan, has done the same thing. We are now, what are we, 6-7 months into first hearing about this for the majority of us in this area. This is the first forum that we've had properly with our 3 councillors. You have not been coming to us to engage with us properly. Catherine, we never see you, even through our protest last year. All I have seen is you supporting these schemes. You have all been elected and are paid to represent us, and we are feeling very forgotten and unheard. And I can actually even come to last night's council meeting on this. I sent an email to all councillors in Enfield expressing that, you know, we really wanted, you know, what the problems were, and that this has been foisted upon us. And this is actually quite a cruel and reckless scheme to do in a time of a pandemic, where any hindrance to emergency services can cost lives. And it's very serious that this is taken into consideration. I got acknowledgements from 1 Labour councillor out of the whole of Enfield, and that was none of yourselves. It was someone from Edmonton, actually. I had a lot from Community First and the Tories, which you might expect, but I would at least expect my 3 ward councillors who were elected to serve us to acknowledge my email, even if not take it further. Achilles, you said about the KPIs. I agree. Shocking. There are no clear KPIs for whether this scheme's a success or failure, because as far as I'm concerned, Councillor Barnes sees it as a fait accompli. He believes this has to happen, and therefore there aren't clear KPIs. But I didn't hear you speak up at yesterday's extended council meeting to this effect, to bring that up. I didn't hear you speak at all. I expect that, we all expect that. We feel lost and we feel let down. The next thing I want to come on to is Yasmin kindly pointed something out there, which we've really got to the point of here. When Councillor Barnes was in a closed meeting with one of our groups, somebody said, well, actually, come on, Warwick Road, with very clever calming, we can do something to reduce the flows on that road, and we could do the same for Brownlow. And he immediately snapped and said, this is not about traffic calming, it is about behavioural change. We don't want people in cars. But can I just stress to you, the 2018 Labour manifesto talked of quieter streets, quieter neighbourhoods. I would love, Catherine, I implore you, could you please email me where LTNs were mentioned once? I've never heard of an LTN. Look to the literature, I can see no evidence for it. So what I want to say really is, tell me, what is this? Is this about traffic calming, or is it about behavioural change? Can we find out which of that it is? Because you do not have a mandate for behavioural change. If you want to stand on a platform of behavioural change and everyone going through modal filters, I'm sorry, a bollard at a road is a closed road. Just because somebody can get through on a scooter or a bike, it's still a closed road. And if you want to stand on that as your mandate and we vote for it, I will go away and I will do my own thing. But I feel this is most anti-democratic, and we are not a little tail majority. I believe the majority of this neighbourhood really are so sad and upset. Our mental health is suffering at this time anyway, like everybody else. We've been living through hell. Our jobs are in crisis. Our lives are turned upside down. People are quite disorientated at the moment. It's no time to be playing lab rats with us. It really isn't. And I just really wanted to wake up and please start representing us, start listening to us, taking our views forward. And, you know, really, you know, you stood to represent us, and please do that. I have many points I can bring up. Just one point I want to make quickly. It's really the fact of, I think there's been a lack of engagement from people in this, and I can tell you why. Because there's a feeling of hopelessness. We stood on streets and we demonstrated. We were compared to UKIP thugs by our council leader, which is most unprofessional. And I would expect all of you to have stood up for us and said, how dare you treat our constituents like this? The fact is, people feeling hopeless about this. I'll give you an example. At the top of Warwick Road, 1 year before this was implemented, you spent £25,000 on a services gate, the big white gate at the top of Warwick Road, and I commend you for that. It was working quite well. Psychologically, it was good. It gave cars had to really slow down to pass. car body shops did very well out of it, by the way. But I think that could have been repeated 2 or 3 times down the road, and it would really help. Just want to give you an example there. £25,000 spent on that. For this trial, all they needed to do was remove the closing post. They didn't. They ripped the whole lot out. Psychologically, that says, hey guys, that £25,000 and that gate, this isn't coming back. This is the new normal. And this is all the talk now. Oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. And then I'll give you another example. 10 days ago, somebody sent me a picture and I've been over and checked. At the end of York Road, there was a 20-mile-an-hour sign, which they'd left up as you would expect, because this is a trial. They've sawn it off now. They haven't just taken the 20-mile-an-hour sign off, they've sawn the post off it was on. All of these things are emotionally telling you that they have no intention of pulling this out. They talk continually about, oh, we can modify it, or we might be able to open up the other end instead of the north circular end. I don't want to split the community. It's not a right or left arm issue. We want our access back. I want intelligent thinking. I want Haringey, Enfield, Barnet, all working together. Colney Hatch Lane, if I was looking down from the sky, Colney Hatch Lane stretch of the North Circular is the worst around. It's constantly queued up. The notion that you would close Brownlow Road before Colney Hatch, again, is quite crazy. If you're going to look at it objectively, you know, we have to do these things intelligently. And this, you know, I'm just very sad. You know, this is being pushed.
Sorry, Roland, I'm going to ask you to sum up. I'm going to ask you to sum up, because I've given you quite a lot of time, and I think
you have. So really, I just feel this has been twisted. It's very behavioural change. We saw last night, Councillor Barnes, there was very many things put to him, and it was very much, I'm going down with this Titanic, whatever happens. I don't care what you think, but I'm sorry, it's not fair.
Can I? Okay. Can I?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Roland. I mean, I suppose there were a number of questions actually that you could extract for that, and actually, you know, I'm conscious of time, and I'm going to extract a key question from what Roland has said. But first of all, let me say that Roland actually does speak for a lot of, you know, he's expressing the views that are shared by many people in this community. We feel completely unheard, we feel completely imposed upon, we feel completely let down in what is the most extraordinary period of all our lives, frankly. We are locked, you know, this isn't just locked down, we're locked in as well. And I can tell you that it has been profoundly depressing to have to deal with these issues at a time when we've all got a lot of other things to think about. But I suppose my question to you 3 councillors actually is, and I'm very sorry, Jenny, because I know you haven't had a chance to come in yet, but my question to you 3 councillors is why can we not have a simple census, a simple yes, no vote, either for or against this? And, you know, and can this, if people are against it, can it please be removed? And Yasmin, I'm going to you first, and then Achilles, and then Catherine.
Well, put it to Sue, put what you said to us exactly in writing, and let us take it back to our group and ask the question. I mean, we are here elected to represent you, and you know, I know that for both my colleagues and myself, you are very important to us, you know, as human beings, and we are very concerned.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Yasmin, but and I know you've had personal issues, so this isn't particularly directed at you, but I have to say we have felt completely ignored by our council. And if anything, you know, there was one thing that we learned yesterday from that council meeting, or indeed from Overview and Scrutiny Committee, or indeed from our closed meeting with Barnes, is that basically the council just dismisses any of our views as misinformation. I have to say, it is completely degrading and it is completely insulting.
I hope this is not the case, because I heard and know that the leader actually, who, you know, I haven't seen very recently, but she did put in the fact that there would be changes. So I think there are people listening. So please write to us what you've just said, and we will take it up.
Achilles, do you want to add anything? I think all we want is a simple census. We want, you know, if the majority of the community don't want this, we want this removed. But of course, saying that, we are quite happy, you know, for Warwick Road to have its gate back and to consider other traffic calming measures. But this community did not ask for an LTN. It really didn't.
Would you three councillors support a referendum for yes or no for our residents? Would you support that?
Achilles?
I'm not sure how a referendum would work, but certainly in terms of Sue asking us whether we would go back and ask for a simple census as opposed to a kind of consultation, be happy to put that on the table and see what we can get out of it. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
Okay, sorry, Roland. Catherine?
As Achilles says, I echo what he says. Basically, I'm happy to put the question on your behalf.
Can I actually just point out, right, that in Lewisham, if you look at the Lewisham website, and I read every single report there is on this, every single one, I'm incredibly well informed about this. And in Lewisham, the question is simple. Do you want us to make this permanent? And do you think this scheme improves walking and cycling? It's as simple as that. And it seems to me that those are two fair questions that should be reflected here. And do people agree with that?
I agree with the timing. Can I say this, Sue, that I totally agree with what you say, but the timing is very important because COVID, of course, has skewed a lot of the things that have happened here. Let us not forget that, because the traffic on the North Circular that's increased could in part be due to people who are now scared to get in the to get on public transport.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, Yasmin, but
there are things that have been skewed by it. So timing is important, but I totally agree with you, and we will take it back.
Yes, I mean, less people are going to work at the moment, so you know you could say skewed one way, skewed the other way as well. And lastly, I think what happens to all the fine money? Where does that go?
Sorry, what was that?
What was that you were saying, Kieran? Didn't quite hear.
Where's the fine money being spent? Because our roads aren't being gritted when it snows. You know, is it going in your pockets or other councillors?
Who wants to answer that?
Say to you. Sorry, Catherine, you go ahead. Certainly not going into our pockets.
No, I was just going to say certainly not going into our pockets, but we can find out for you exactly where it goes. I suspect it goes straight back into the transportation department.
I'm sure it does. Brian, you've got your hand up. Sorry,
Yes, would you like point of a vote within the LTN, but how does that take note of impacts outside it?
I certainly think that is an issue, and I think certainly in terms of actually, if there was a vote, that it needs to consider the wider area as well. And I think that's a point that's very fairly made. Tony, I'm very conscious of the fact that Jenny, you've not had a chance to ask a question. Did you want to ask a question?
Really important one is what Councillor Barnes had to say about where the money is going. He said to me with Caliscan, the money is going back in to pay for pensioners' freedom passes and disabled freedom passes and stuff like that. That's where the money's going.
Well, that's yes. So we understand. Jenny, did you want to? Thank you, Tony. Jenny, did you want to ask a question? Because I'm conscious of the fact you've not had an opportunity.
Yes, I did. So I've met Yasmin and Achilles. I've met with both of you on numerous occasions throughout this, so I do know you. And we did do some correspondence in September that we didn't quite hear back from, but I'd actually want to address this to Catherine, because I haven't actually met you before, I haven't seen you around the neighbourhood. What is the name of this LTN scheme?
What is the name of it?
Yeah, what's the name of this LTN scheme?
I mean, I only know it as the Bowes LTN. I don't know any other name.
So it's called the Bowes Primary and Surrounding Streets Lower Traffic Scheme. So it cites Bowes Primary School in the title, which implies that it would have a benefit to the school. And the school wasn't contacted regarding this before the implementation. The first they tried to contact the school was on the 10th of August, and surprisingly it wasn't open. And actually, I think as one of the main stakeholders in this neighborhood, and it has the highest population of children, your daughter suffered from asthma yourself and said she benefited from the filtered neighborhood. My child, I've got 3 children, my infant child who's 4 years old, her playground is 5 meters away from the North Circular. You know, and Edith talked about Ella, and I made posts about that, and Yasmin, you did say that you were going to bring that up as well. I didn't hear anything about it yesterday. In terms of the pollution filters, we heard from Ned Johnson, who said that there's one at Brownlow Road and Warwick Road, and the health-based objectives for nitrogen dioxide were not being exceeded at these filters. But the results for Bowes Primary show the annual mean objective for nitrogen dioxide is exceeded in the front of the school where the North Circular lies. And Councillor Barnes has said again and again that he's pushing traffic intentionally onto the A406 where it belongs. So that is going to impact the school. It's going to impact the very vulnerable children in our community. And we also read in the Enfield Dispatch that the success of Enfield LTNs will be judged by traffic volume, by bus journey times, by walking and cycling, plus views of residents and stakeholders, but that air quality monitors will not be used. So there's only unscientific measures that will be, you know, so for the KPIs. So my question is really, because you are for this scheme, why was Bowes Primary cited in the title? What benefits does it have to the school?
Well, Jenny, I absolutely hear you, and it is a matter of grave concern. And I said to Richard Eason in the summer, the school needs to be the highest priority. And I was assured that, yes, the school is the highest priority. But like you say, pollution on the North Circular is a massive, massive issue. I've been saying to the cabinet member and to officers that we need to look at all measures. I've asked if we could have extra tree planting around the school. I've asked whether we can make representations to TfL about the North Circular, because after all, if we control the North Circular, which we don't, because TfL do, there might be other things we could do. But you're absolutely right. It really, really, really is a huge issue. The North Circular is a huge issue for our whole area. I mean, that is the truth. And like you say, if it turns out that pollution is getting worse there, then we have to do stuff about it. You're absolutely right. The aim of this whole thing is to reduce pollution. I will ask about the, you say that you were informed that the pollution measure was taken off the school, is that right?
No, the measure on the air quality measures on the school, but they said that they weren't going to use it to measure the success of the Bowes LTN.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Data. They were going to use the traffic counters that they put on the closed off roads.
Yeah.
But not the pollution, the measures of pollution, which actually is raw data. So the only thing they're not going to use is raw data.
Well, I want to see that data, and I want to know what that data says, and I'm going to ask about that data.
Really important. And the thing, even though the North Circular is not within the remit of Enfield Council, you're responsible for pushing traffic onto it, and you've used the name of my children's school in the title of your LTN. So they're implying there's a benefit to our kids, when in fact they're the ones that are going to be harmed the most. So I'm really upset.
I take forward everything you're saying. Yeah, sorry.
I'm very sorry. Sorry, Janet, if you want to make a final point, because we're just about to cut out. So if you can be very quick.
It's that all journeys west and south take you past Bowes School now, when they didn't before.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off a bit early, and I'm sorry for late, but I'm very conscious of the fact that we've got 1 minute 17, so it's going to be a very.
But I would like to, I will be writing back. I will be writing to you three councillors again, and I'd like a response.
Okay. Thank you very much. What I would say is we're coming to the end, so thank you very much for attending. I think, you know, this will be recorded, so you three councillors can go through it again and pick up all the points. And I think we would very much welcome some written feedback from you on the questions that you've raised and the issues that I hope you're going to be taking back to the deputy leader and the leader. And I think also finally, what I would like to say is that we would actually quite like to repeat this, you know, in a month or 6 weeks time. We'd like to have another session, if that is all right. I think it is just deeply tragic that 4 months into the scheme, this is the first time that we've been able to have a dialogue that is actually open and can actually be shared with the community. And I think, frankly, that is a very sad reflection on our